the Constitution will be start organized and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord. I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, a very warm evening on Planet Radio 101.1 FM and Spectrum TV and Star Times. My name is Anthony Ebuk, a legal practitioner with Law Partners and Associates. The program you're listening to and watching is Legally Speaking. We're sorry we are a bit behind schedule. You blame it on logistics. That's what we always say. Welcome to the election edition of Legally Speaking. I have with me in the studio two very fine legal gentlemen. Ekemini is the first. From my far left is a legal practitioner with Justice Chambers, head of practice and principal partner, Justice Chambers. Ekemini, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, Etiri Daniel is an associate with Law Partners and Associates, and she's a legal practitioner too. Ekemini, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, today we'll just be running through the motions because tomorrow is election. I actually thought we would have started voting from today, but the electoral access is tomorrow, so we stick to tomorrow. For today, we will look at two quick news before we settle down on the Electoral Act. By the way, the phone lines are open. You can call from now till the end of the show. And that's our apologies for coming up late. The numbers to call will be 090-222-31011. The alternate number to call will be 070-454-17707. I repeat those two numbers, 090-222-31011, 070-454-17707. All right, so Ekemini, very recently we've had the Supreme Court's verdict on the governorship, the governorship tussle of Akwa Ibom State between Akanekpe and Umoido, the forgery case, right? And the Supreme Court has finally concurred with the concurring decisions of the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal. And I know a lot of people kept thinking that there'd be an upturn at the Supreme Court. Heard the judgment?
Yes, I heard the judgment. When people thought there would be an upturn at the Supreme Court, like you have said, well, that was maybe just people thinking that way. But in law, see, when we have concurrent judgments, that is, the trial court says this is the position of the law, and then the Court of Appeal concurs with the decision of the trial court, we call it concurrent judgment. It's always a bit difficult to set it aside at the Supreme Court. It just had to do with allegation of forgery of certificate, and the requirement of the law for the petitioner, for the plaintiff in that case, is always very high. And so you must do everything to ensure that you prove it beyond reasonable doubt. And one of the things you have to do is to bring the issuing authority. Once you have the issuing authority come to court to say this certificate is not our own, then you have won that case. But when you have the issuing authority come to court to say this certificate is our own, it makes it very difficult for you to climb that mountain and then land safely. So that matter has finally been decided by the Supreme Court, and in law, that's the end of the matter, at least on earth.
Yes, also finally decided has been, it's not just finally decided, it has been the case between the man you choose to be calling Babantant and PDP, Akwa Ibom State, Moino, and the rest of them, right? And yes, it's in it.
Okay.
That's at the Court of Appeal, right?
Yes. The Court of Appeal has now declared Omoino as the rightful candidate to contest for the elections after the previous judgments from the Federal High Court that made Michael Enyo the rightful candidate by that time. So by now, recently, the court has overturned that Federal High Court judgment, and Omoino is now the rightful candidate to contest for governorship elections.
Yeah, that's important because very recently there was this news that spilled around that INEC has replaced Omoino's name with Mike Young, and everybody was calling to ask these questions. As soon as at the last Legally Speaking program, everybody was calling to ask who is now the candidate, who is now the candidate. Is it true that this person has? And we said, why don't you wait for the judgment and decision of the court? It doesn't matter whose name is there. At the end of the day, what matters is that parties will win. Political parties will be the ones that win and loses. Whatever the court decides in the end will now be, whoever the court decides in the end will now be the person that carries the victory. All right?
But the decision of the Court of Appeal, setting aside the judgment of Mike Young, the man that people popularly know as Babantan, and by the way, Babantan is very easy for me to call, unlike the other long name. So the decision of the Court of Appeal on that is to the benefit of PDP, because see, if the Court of Appeal did not decide that matter, and then we go into the election with just saying it is a party that contests the election, the name, the face of the person behind the logo of the party is very significant, and that would have affected the fortunes of PDP in this election. The Court of Appeal, in deciding that matter, simply went to one clear point and said this matter, that is the issue of who is the rightful candidate of the PDP in Akwa Ibom for the office of governor, has already been decided upon by this court and also by the Supreme Court. We all remember the antebellum case. So that was the case that was taken by Friday Walk and two of his friends, and that matter went up to the Supreme Court, and the court kept saying that ad hoc delegates were rightly used by the party because it is the internal affairs of the political party. Those gentlemen took that matter up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the same thing. And so the Court of Appeal in Babantan's matter said that this point, having already been decided upon by this court and by the Apex Court, that the trial court in Damaturu had no jurisdiction to have sat over the same matter anymore, namely the issue of who becomes the rightful candidate of the PDP for the governorship seats. And that is in line with res judicata. In law, what is known as res judicata is this matter has already been settled, so we don't have the power to open it again. And that goes to the fact that I'm sure that if these judgments were presented before the trial court in Damaturu, perhaps, in fact, not even perhaps, the trial court in Damaturu wouldn't have gone into the matter anymore. And so the Court of Appeal has now clearly defined the position of the law by saying once a matter is decided upon by the principles of res judicata, you cannot come and reopen the matter anymore, no matter the guys you are coming, especially when the subject matter has already been decided. And I think that's in line with the provision of the law, and it is also good for PDP as a political party, so that going into the election they will see clear, they will know clearly that they don't have issues anymore on that. But note that Babantan still has the right in law to proceed to the Supreme Court on this same matter, to quarrel, in quote, with the decision of the Court of Appeal. But
How
for
many
now,
days does he have?
well, but for now, with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, it means that Babantan's name automatically has been changed again. I mean, has been changed to replace him with the name of Omoino. And INEC has a responsibility because it has been their own practice to accept the latest judgment that comes, and so they are going to accept this one and then possibly publish the name of Omoino before the election. In fact, they should, because election for governorship is next month, and I think that will settle the matter for now, pending when Babantan also decides within the next 14 days from the day of judgment to go to the Supreme Court.
All right, so basically those are the things that we need to know to keep the electorate abreast of the issues surrounding the Akwa Ibom State governorship candidates. Okay, so let's go to Enugu State. Very recently, in fact, I think yesterday or thereabout, the senatorial candidate for the Labour Party was murdered. There are speculations as to whether they were IPOP murders or other anti-party murders. But the ultimate thing is this: people were questioning whether or not INEC will have to postpone at least that senatorial district election in Enugu State, and I don't know, that would be in line with the law. So, let's start with you. What's the position of the law with respect to where a party that is, if you can read the section, then we discuss on that. Where a party, where a candidate in a party dies after being nominated, or I guess as a candidate.
Okay, so Section 34 of the Electoral Act 2022 provides that, sub 1, provides that if after the time for the delivery of nomination paper and before the commencement of the poll, a nominated candidate dies, the Chief National Electoral Commissioner shall, being satisfied of the facts of the death, countermand the poll in which the deceased candidate was to participate, and the Commission shall appoint some other convenient dates for the election within 14 days.
Okay. So, AKBD, I think the INEC chairman has done that, but has not appointed a date for the within 14 days as the law requires. But the key word there is the shall countermand.
Yes.
Shall. It's a mandatory provision.
Yes, it's mandatory.
So they wouldn't even have to wait for the party executives or leadership of the party to demand for the postponement of that particular election. But one other thing you will see the postpone the entire election, but that particular one where the party, the late senatorial aspirant, was involved in, right?
Yes.
So
every other election goes on except this very one. Well, let me say that I sympathize with the family of the deceased. He died in a very gruesome way. You know, I understand they killed him together with supporters and then locked him into a vehicle and then set the vehicle ablaze. That's a very cruel way of killing a fellow human. It is unacceptable to the law. It is unacceptable.
Would you qualify that as part of election violence?
Well, I wouldn't know whether it's part of election violence, but it is done in the course of the preparation for election. So in between or wherever, election is still inside there. Maybe the people that kill them are angry that he is contesting when they have been told not to contest or campaign or something. But whatever the reason, no reason justifies the taking of a human life, and then taking the human life in this most gruesome manner, having to burn the person's body. It is unacceptable. But the law has to take its effects, and the electoral law simply says the National Electoral Commissioner, in this case the INEC chairman, has a duty to countermand, and that means postpone that election and then ensure that it is conducted within 14 days on a date to be fixed. I think the INEC chairman right now is very busy. I don't even know whether he sleeps up to 2 hours, you know, in the last 2 weeks or so.
He has foot soldiers, so maybe those are the busy ones.
Yeah, but when
he just send the reports to him and he endorses them.
Well, but when you understand that the buck stops on the table of the boss, and in this case the stakes are very high, he has told Nigerian citizens that this election is going to be free, expectedly, and he has also introduced something that we have not used before generally, that is the beavers. And he has a responsibility to ensure that the beavers, you know, will work tomorrow effectively. And so it will involve a lot of hard work on his part and also a lot of prayers on his part, you know, because ours is a religious country, and I know that the INEC chairman cannot stop being religious on an assignment like
Are
this.
you aware that he's not a Christian?
He's a Muslim.
Are you aware that he might not be a good Muslim?
They pray more than you do because they pray 5 times a day.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
so but that's by the way, anyway,
Yes.
that's on the lighter note. So the law has taken care of a situation like this. So God forbid if a governorship candidate in any state of the federation dies before the election, then the election has to be postponed for 14 days, and then another one, a date will be fixed for that same election. God forbid and forbid if the presidential candidate of any of the political parties is killed now, God forbid,
because everything boils down to statistics now. People keep counting, this is the number of electoral dates, this is the number of days in the 2023 elections. Now, I have observed too that most of the dates in the southeastern areas are not particularly as a result of electoral violence, meaning party against party, okay? But rather as a result of IPOP intervention of not wanting to have the election hold in the state.
Are you sure it's IPOP
Would
intervention?
you on your own qualify? Yeah, because it's largely IPOP interventions. Would you largely say that this election of 2023 has been, the campaign running to election 2023 has been peaceful?
Yes, it started peaceful though until recently, where the uprising, so to say, happened in Enugu State. It was quite peaceful. I don't think I heard any issues.
I think beyond Enugu
before
State,
now.
there has been quite a number of arsones in Imo State. Imo State in particular, they burned down about 4 or 5 INEC offices,
police
stations.
and so on.
So their aim is basically targeted at the INEC and facilities, rather than political parties. I think this is the first time they're going up. Okay, about the second time they're going after candidates.
Well, it's even a sad narrative that we have these things happening in Nigeria, a country that gained independence since 1960. Somebody that was born in 1960 is already counting his days. He's an old man.
All right, let's take this call. Hello. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, my name is Elder Okechukwu, calling from Obudu.
Okechukwu from Obudu. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Please, I heard you mentioning IPOP concerning the Eastern region.
Yes, sir.
I am telling you, IPOP is not a problem in the Eastern region.
Okay.
The problem in the Eastern region is political issues. Look at what happened in Enugu Central Zone. How they murdered a young man. They did not even consider the family. It's very, very unfortunate. I'm asking God to restore the peace in the East. The only major problem there is that Nnamdi Kanu, they still kept, notwithstanding of the Supreme Court judgment. That is why when I heard Erufai shouting Supreme Court issue, I'll be laughing because then the Kanu has been there when the Supreme Court says, release me. Nobody talked about it. Now there is no peace in the East. Everybody is comfortable. I'm only asking God to intervene. It shall be well with the Easterners.
So it is your position that it's not IPOP that is killing. Hello?
It's not IPOP.
Well, I wouldn't want to agree entirely with him because when these killings happen and the burning of police stations, people come out to take credit.
But
if you want to call that a credit, because I personally would say it's a demerit.
So who has taken credit for this Enugu?
So, yeah, I think IPOP has taken the demerit for that. That it is not proper and we are told you not to participate or conduct elections.
And you're still going on.
I've seen videos where a group of people were preparing for a rally and they came in, burnt their tents, burnt their chairs and
the sound box
and made all of them lie down and say, we have warned you. So it's obvious.
Well, if we are to talk based on what we read in the media, then one can point fingers very clearly on IPOP. And we've seen a lot of videos. We've seen Simon Ekpa warning, inciting statements from left, right, and center. So if we are to go by the media report, one can really say it's IPOB. But if we talk as legal practitioners, then that's where we'll talk about issue of proof, issue of clearly defined facts, you know, to make it clear that this is the person that is doing this and so on. So for that reason, we may not rightly say that it is IPOB, but I can say that the situation in the eastern part of the country is worrisome. And there is need for the elders of the East to hold a meeting among themselves and among the youth population in the East, and then talk to them to restore peace. For instance, the fact that every Monday no market is opened in the East, no movement whatsoever, that itself is something that is even against the interests of the Igbo nation, because the Igbos, they are predominantly businessmen, and so when you shut down a whole Monday, it is not good. So I think that the situation in the East should worry the elders, should worry even the youth population there, so that that place can be as peaceful as it used to be. It used to be a very peaceful place, and what's going on is not in the best interest, you know, of the people there. When you say that people should not go out for election, is it in your interest? It is not. It is not. People should be allowed the freedom, the liberty to go out and cast their vote and then go back home and then wait to know who becomes the winner and then celebrate with the winner. Who knows? It could be your son, it could be your friend, it could be any other person, but I think it should be a very peaceful environment.
Yes.
You talked of dialogue between the leaders and the youths of the community. So what happens if it doesn't work? If it has been done before and then it's not working, what happens?
Well, one should not be tired of discussion.
No, I'm even
dialogue.
thinking. I'm even thinking that it is not. Hello, let's take this call. Hello. Hello. All right. I'm even thinking, who are you dialoguing with? Because the dialogue is not between the youths and the elders. There's a section of people who say they are IPOBs, and these IPOBs are the ones trying to clamp down on everybody to say, we don't want your will to prevail. The federal government of Nigeria cannot come in here, conduct election and go away.
Well,
we are not Nigerians. Now, is that representing the will of the people? Because if it was representing the will of the people, then you could say that's a dialogue between the people and those that are trying to make development coming. But now it's a different set of people that don't enjoy the popularity of the youths. All right, let's take this call. Hello. Hello.
You know, maybe we've lost it. You know, sometimes to discuss the present, you look back a little to the past. In our days in the university, don't forget that there was MASOP, which was led by Ralph Wazurike, still on the same Biafran course. Today, that course is no more, okay? So what happened? It may have been that it was suspended as a result of dialogue. When you go back to 1960, you know, 1967, during the war, remember it was still because of the Biafran cause that the war was declared by Ojukwu.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, legally speaking.
Good evening.
All right.
Hello.
Yes, we are hearing you, sir. Go on.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Ahmad. I'm calling from Bauchi.
Bauchi Ahmad. Okay, we are on you.
Thank you, sir. I want to comment on this issue of killing of the senatorial candidate in Enugu State.
Okay.
Sincerely speaking, IPOC should take the credit of killing that person, because nobody in that side will take any responsibility, because IPOC was always warning the people of East, especially the Igbo people, that they should not come to close to any something that will bring to the nation or federation or any electoral something act. So my own view here is that I go with the legal advisor that he was talking about the Igbo people. The elders of Igbo people should call all the youth of Igbo people that this nation is only one Nigeria. But now is Igbo, Labour Party now is a Igbo from that region, and he's contesting for the presidential candidate in Nigeria. What happens if this man wants, God willing, he won the election in this country? That means some of the another tribal in country will be starting thinking that maybe this man will go with the idea of the Bible people or whatsoever. So my own view here, or my own advice to the Igbo elders, particularly the Southeast, they should come all of them together and let them think that this Nigeria is one. Because as I'm talking to you right now, I have worked with Igbo people. The person that taught me how to do the handwork is an Igbo man, for an Igbo state. And they live in my state, because I'm from Borno State. They live in my state since 1950. This is what my father told me, that those people are staying there. So Igbo people, we know them, they are a good people. Please, let the IPOP take all this aside and let's make this Nigeria to be a one country. We are praying for successful election tomorrow. We are not praying for whether you are for an my own view here. I'm not praying for whether PDP or APC or whatever. I'm praying for good leader, because we have already seen, we have already go through all this. Buhari has come down. He has done his own best. Let us pray. Let leave everything in the hands of God, please.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right. I think that he shares the views of the generality of Nigerians, that the idea of wanting to scuttle an election by killing yourselves, because there are other ways you could achieve what you want to achieve. Using violence, you don't have a monopoly of that violence.
And it doesn't do anybody any good.
Hello.
To use violence.
You want to legally speaking?
Hello.
Yes, you want to legally speaking.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Shekana from Imo State.
Urubukoro.
Can you hear me?
Imo State. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Imo State.
Imo State, okay.
The truth is that this man that was killed, for me, I don't think his iPod was proven. The truth is that people have been clamoring that federal government will obey costs by others. Knowing fully well that some people want to hijack this situation, begin to just to give these people bad news. If you listen to their radio station and the announcement, they have told the town with that number that they are not against the federal election. If you feel like voting, go on and vote. If you don't feel like, then you stay at home. You are not even the one giving this seat at home order. It is effort. And we are here trying to pin these things on them. The truth is that sometimes you think as if the government they enjoy what is happening in Southeast, because they know fully well that once they let this man go according to the order of the court, that we enjoy a relative seat in Southeast, but they don't want to do the needful. And thereby creating ways for people to begin to do things just to see that they hand those actions to the benefit of these people. For me, they are not the ones that do this. So government should investigate. And if you journalists investigate, you need to make a apportion blame. That is what I'm saying this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so let me complete my thoughts on what I was saying before. So I've said that there was mass up by Ralph Wazirike. I think that was when we were in the university. It was very hot that time. There was also before that time the declaration of the Republic of Biafra by Ojukwu in 1967. All this later ended. I'm sure it was as a result of dialogue, as a result of large consultation and discussion for them to lay down their arms, their weapons. And I think that the same thing can still be done here. Remember, the First World War, the Second World War, every war on earth has always ended on the dialogue table, discussion, advice offered to the warring factions. And I think that the same thing can still be done here by the elders of the Eastern region. Nobody should say we don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. No. In my community, we know the man that smokes marijuana. We know the man that drinks and then gets, he has to sleep on the road. Every community knows who is doing this and who is doing that. The elders should assist in this situation and ensure that the Igbo states, are peaceful. Elections should hold. in Igbo land. Elections should hold in every other part of the country. It is not in the interest of any section of the country for the people to say we're not participating, or for the people to be stopped from participating. You need to be part and parcel of the defining moment in the history of this country from tomorrow up to the last election, so that you don't have yourself to blame on whoever comes up as the leader of this country. Would you encourage the use of force if this dialogue doesn't work? Well, the use of force is not working also. Remember, the federal government of Nigeria has applied very heavy artillery against them. But I don't think that the use of force is working.
I feel a bit uncomfortable when we keep promoting dialogue with criminals, murderers. Because this dialogue seems to be... United States of America took a position and said we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Do you know what it cost the United States of America by that policy? When they went to Iraq, for instance, they stayed there for 10 years.
Hello. Hello, you want to legally speaking?
Hello?
Yes, we are listening to you, sir.
Yes, evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, my name is Mr. Dominic. I'm calling from Anambra.
Dominic from Anambra. Go on, sir.
Yes. You see, it's a pity. Yes. It's a pity that this unrest has become an order of the day in Igbo land. Then they will be saying IPOP, 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 IPOP. It is not IPOP. You know, when there is unrest or when there's a problem, even between brothers, the evil one, the bad elements that have been around will use that opportunity to make sure that they achieve their own thing. Even most of us who have stayed in Lagos, when there is a misunderstanding between one group or there are two groups, all those big crimes around will use it to start looting here and there. I don't think IPOB, as we know them before, is that they keep on, talking their mind. I know declaring their mind. Highest, if they can even come to a electoral site, they will disorganize that place, not even touching anybody. But that is not even Nnamdi Kane's style. It is even when he was apprehended. But this is a political criminals, the enemy. They are using this to, they're using it to perpetuate their desire against their opponent. Because they say IPOP, so we can kill anybody and say IPOP. You can invade somebody's territory and say IPOP. So everybody, wherever they say IPOP, IPOP, IPOP. As if IPOP has been, the people who know IPOP, we know them as a peaceful organization that are just asking for self-actualization. It is not IPOP. The claim of somebody in Enugu is not IPOP. You understand? And those one in Igbo, it's political, but when people are using that avenue, like now, if I see that I can overwhelm Wale you because you are still within Igbo land, I will now find a key and they say IPOP. But I know what I'm doing.
All right.
So please, let us see it as a arrest in Igbo land. And some of the enemies of Igbos from others are now using people in Igbo land, sponsoring them to commit havoc. It is not IPOP, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I like it that they are calling in from the region. Yeah. But we are also observing some news feeds coming out from there. There's an Ekpa that claims to be the secretary of IPOB, and he's been very vocal on those issues. We don't want election in Biafra land. Now, like we talked about that video where people were trying to organize a rally, and they came in and stopped those rallies. I agree too with him that there's this school of thought that could say, all right, some of these things are not entirely IPOP. There could be some external influence or interest. It's possible, right? But yet again, the bottom line would be if there must be a scapegoat, IPOP has to take the blame.
Well, so as not to drag it on.
All right, let's take the call. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Good day, sir.
Good day, sir.
Good day, sir. I'm Mr. Eugene. I'm calling from Taraba State.
Taraba State, okay.
Taraba State, okay. Yes, sir. So please, I'm very much interested in that topic. Because the issue of IPOP being the responsible for the murder of the Labour Party senatorial candidate, personally to me, I see that what others are saying that is not IPOP, is exactly what it's not IPOP, because if IPOP is attacking most of the political parties, it's not only Labour Party, then the eminence. What of the PDPs, what of the APCs, what of other people? So if you are saying that IPOP is responsible for the murder of the other, which means are they sectional? Or are they, the Labour Party have anything special that they're committing while they are attacking that level? So I think that this is political subject. Those people that are trying to manipulate elections or trying to suppress the Labour Party are the people that are responsible for this particular act.
All right.
So, I'm going others to say that it is the people that are responsible, other people for their selfish ambitions. That is why they are doing the thing, not IPOP.
All right.
IPOP is not for any particular person, even if they are the one.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think we would observe too that these stories are not just in the air. There have been acceptance and claims by the same people called IPOB. So that's why we are boldened to say that in most of those claims there are elements of truth. But let's leave IPOP for a while.
Yeah, but let me say this before we leave. You know, from the calls that we have received from our Igbo brothers, some of them outside Igbo land, but some in Igbo land, it shows to me that all of them are against violence in Igbo land. And let us leave it at that and say that election, all of them should encourage peace. All of them should encourage, their people to go out and cast their vote without molestation. Okay. I think that's what the Igbo people are looking for right now.
Before we get to those encouragement, let's quickly run into Lagos State, where the chairman of the Labour Party has screamed out that the logo for the Labour Party is not on the sheets, the electoral sheets.
The ballot paper.
The ballot paper. Okay, that's still electoral sheets. The ballot paper of the Lagos State senatorial election, and it has implications in law, right? What implications are they?
Okay.
Assuming that is true, eventually.
So, Section 42 of the Electoral Act, sub 1 reads, "The Commission shall prescribe the format of the ballot papers, which shall include the symbol adopted by the political party of the candidate and such other information as it may require."
Okay.
The ballot paper shall be numbered serially with differentiating colors for each office being contested. And then down, if you read down, you see that a political party that fails to comply with an invitation by the Commission under sub 3 shall be deemed to have approved its identity on samples of electoral materials proposed to be used for an election.
Okay, I think we should be looking at a section that makes provision for exclusion, because that might amount to excluding people on the ballot papers. That's a bit unlawful. That's unlawful, right?
No, it's on. Well, when you say it's unlawful, there's no crime, so it's not unlawful. There's no crime in it. But this is the point: if the logo of a political party is excluded from a ballot paper, then that's a recipe for cancellation of that election.
Why? Why would you cancel an election? Because it's not.
It's a ground. It's a ground for election petition. Now, one of the grounds for election petition is unlawful exclusion.
Exactly, that's the word we use.
Now, when you exclude the logo of a political party, it means that you have excluded that political party from that election, whereas the political party had submitted a candidate to you after primaries. That if that happens, it is very easy to set aside the outcome of that election at the election petition tribunal. And therefore, if, as it is reported, that the logo of the Labour Party has been excluded in a particular senatorial district in Lagos, then this is something that INEC needs to address immediately. If it is not addressed, and then they go into the election, even if the election turns out to be the freest, it is something that is going to be set aside at the Election Petition Tribunal, because it will qualify for one of the grounds, which is unlawful exclusion of Labour Party from that senatorial district. If we know the law, then there's no need still pushing it.
I'm just wondering the cost of running that election. Is there nothing they can do to probably include a 17th or 18th candidate to say, okay, if you want to vote this party, write number 17 and vote.
What about
I think we have a final call. Let's just take that final call and round up. Hello? Hello? All right, that call is struggling to come through and we don't have much time. So, you were asking a question.
Okay, yeah. From what you said, I was asking, what about the women in the village that have already been schooled?
I will not understand. I think that election ought to be postponed.
Yes, or INEC should immediately get the ballot papers this night.
My dear, we have one day. It's not possible to do that.
It's possible this night they can run it. Is it not to use the computer and run 1 million copies and all that? The money is there.
How do you get to distribute it?
It can be distributed by the Air Force for them. They fly helicopters around, because I don't want any election to be shifted in any constituency.
Anyway, gentlemen, that is the much we can take for today. Sorry we had to start a bit late. Well, we really started late. So what's your take for tomorrow's election? 18, let's start with you. I'm sure you'll be voting for the first time.
I have just one point to make. When deciding who is to rule this country, I think we should distance ourselves from tribalism and do the right thing. That's just all I have to say.
Okay.
Well, my last word on this episode of this program is, please, vote buying has not done us any good in this country. The politicians are ready to buy you over by tomorrow. Please resist it. Even if you are given as much as 20,000, which I doubt any political party will have that magnanimity, it will not take you anywhere. Let us vote right tomorrow. Let us only vote with our consciences without having to collect money from anybody.
All right, gentlemen, I hope to see you on the other side of next week. I'm sure by then we'll be very happy to announce the results of the presidential elections. Again, INEC could have announced, we will just reinforce it. My name is Anthony Ebuk. I've been with the community and Etini Basi. Until same time next week, we hope to meet you, do everything legally.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be dependent?
With legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.